Constructivism is a theory of meaning making. Learning in constructivism is active, enjoyable, and constructive. Students are allowed to construct their own meaning from the information that teachers give them. Teachers and students usually agree on the subject matter and how it is taught. The theorists of constructivism are Lev Vygotsky, Piaget, Dewey, and Bruner. Lev Vygotsky says that social interaction enhances learning and that learning occurs best in this child's zone of proximal development, which is where the child can do activities on their own, but they still need guidance to get through them. Piaget said that students acquire meaning from information by prior experiences that they've had. Dewey said that educational activities should be authentic, which means they should always relate to real life and students should know how they relate to real life. And lastly, Bruner said that learning occurs by problem-solving methods and that everybody's problem-solving and learning methods are different. So, no, constructivism is not just a lecture, and teaching should not be just a lecture. The constructivism model differs from the traditional model in curriculum, student-teacher roles, and assessments. The curriculum in the constructivism theory is learner-centered and unique and personal to the student. In the traditional model, the teacher teaches and the students just listen and sit there and stare at them. But the constructive curriculum is always connected to the student's interest in some way and includes critical thinking and problem-solving skills. In the constructivism model, the students shape the environment and lead how the class is going to be taught, because how the teacher teaches is based off the students' learning styles. In a traditional model, the teacher is the guide and the students just sit there and watch and listen to her and memorize what she's saying. The assessments in constructivism are different because they are usually authentic, and the traditional assessments are not. They're usually just ABC, multiple choice. But authentic assessments are better because they relate to real life and they show students how they can use them and can use the information in real life while getting a grade for it. The PAR model is used to implement the constructivism theory because it consists of presenting, which is where the teacher demonstrates or explains skills or information to the students, and it involves applying, which is where the students practice the information or skills. And then lastly, it involves reviewing, which is where the teachers tell or let the students know how this information can be used in real life and goes over the main points again. My scenario is teaching a class how to make $1 out of only quarters, dimes, and nickels. First, I'll be presenting the information by giving them a handout, and it'll have a picture of a quarter and a picture of a nickel and a picture of a dime. I will ask questions like, have you ever seen a quarter before or a nickel? And then I'll say, well, do you know what a quarter and a nickel and a dime is worth? And then I will model how to add quarters and nickels and dimes together, and I'll let them take notes and talk about how I did it. And I'll let them apply the information by giving them a worksheet that has scenarios that say, like, if you had 2 quarters, how many dimes would you need to make $1? And so on. Then I would have a grocery store scene, and I would give the kids different amounts of quarters, dimes, and nickels, and I would let them talk it out and see how many dollars they could make and see how many clothes or food they could buy. And by reviewing, I would say, okay, you see how you can use this information in real life because you just used it in a grocery store to buy you some food or some clothes. And then I would go over the main points by saying, okay, so what is a quarter? How much does a quarter, or what is the, how much does a quarter amount to? I'm sorry. And then how much does a dime amount to and a nickel and so forth. And then that would be the end of my scenario. Thank you.